As of recording this, it is June 30th, and that means halfway through 2026. This is kind of just a check-in video halfway through the year to see where I'm at with my reading, where I'd like to be with my reading by the end of the year, and how we're doing so far. Little reading wrap up for a halfway point. So far this year, I've attempted 56 books. I've DNF'd 10 of them, meaning I read 46 books so far this year. My goal for all of 2026 is to read 100 books, so I'm just slightly under. I'm only a little bit behind. I'm not too far behind that I don't think I can catch up. I think we can get there. Super busy somewhere ahead of me, but I do think we can get there. Of the 46 books I read, 5 of them were rereads from books I read I think they were all books I read last year for the first time. Hold on, let me actually double check that. They're all books I read in 2024, except for one. So I read 41 books for the first time this year. Of those 41 books, I have had 19 4-star reads, 18 3-star reads, and 4 2-star reads. So no 5-star reads, but no 1-star reads. So nothing in the extreme. I found a lot of books that I liked. I enjoyed them. They were fun, and now I've moved on. I've not found very many that have really truly stuck with me, but I've also not found anything where I'm like, I hate this with my entire bones. It takes a lot to get a 1-star read from me. It also takes a lot to get a 5-star read from me. Of all the books that I've read for my own enjoyment, I've had, I think, a total of only 3 1-star reads ever. So it takes a lot to earn that level of rage from me. Hopefully this year we don't have any. So far so good. It also takes a lot to get a 5-star read, though that is significantly more manageable. I have a total of 26 5-star reads in the 200 something books that I've rated. Probably closer to 300 by now. Actually, let me look. Over the 300 books that I've rated, according to my Goodreads, because I don't know what the number is, but it says 316, I have only 26 5-star reads. What percentage is that? Okay, so we're looking at about 8% of the books I read end up being 5 stars. And less than 1% end up being 1-star reads. So significantly easier to get a 5-star than a 1-star. We've still not accomplished it this year though. This time last year, I'd had 3 5-star reads. I had 7 books in total in 2025 that I rated 5 stars, which is incredible and great. And I'm so envious of last year me that she got to read all that for the first time. This year, Taylor is struggling to find one. She has not had a 5-star read yet. She's upset. I do have a stack of books here, some of which I have 5-star hopes for. But hey, sometimes it happens with the books I least expect it from. Sometimes I find a book not having any clue I'm going to vibe with it at all, and it ends up being one of the greatest things I've ever read. It happens all the time. I need to just keep an open mind to everything, and the right books will find me. They will find me. That being said, I had a lot of 4-star reads. That's not bad. Really, I think it's only bad if I'm rating it under a 3. I feel like 3 stars is a book that I feel pretty... I have positive feelings, they're just not very intense feelings. 4 stars is more like, I liked this, I would recommend this. I might read it again, depending how much I liked it. I feel like there's a little bit of a range here. But of my 4-star reads, I'm gonna go through my top 5 books so far this year, and hopefully throughout the rest of the year I have a bunch of 5-star reads that blow everything out of the water. Let's be real, that's not happening. I'll be thrilled once I find my first 5-star read of the year, because what do you mean I had 3 this time last year? But my top 5 books of 2026 so far, starting with, in 5th place, we have The Black Queen, which I talked about recently. It is a young adult murder mystery set in the Deep South, and a teenage girl gets murdered. She was about to be the first Black homecoming queen that the school was ever going to have, and she's violently murdered, and her best friend is trying to find out who killed her. So half the book is from the best friend's point of view, and then the other half of the book is from the point of view of the girl who is accused of killing her, who's also trying to solve the mystery to clear her own name. So the two of them each separately trying to solve it and then coming together, and working together even though they hate each other and dealing with their own unresolved issues and trying to solve this murder and get justice for this girl, Nova. Really great book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Some parts were a little predictable, but that's okay. We keep rolling. I'd rather predictable than it makes no sense to come out of nowhere. I think I was just on top of it. I really love this book. It was great. I highly recommend. I talked about it in my last video of books you might not know were queer if you haven't read them. And this book is queer. If you didn't know, now you do. My fourth place book is also one I've talked about in a video because I read it during the Game Changer readathon, and that is The Revenge Game, which is another young adult book. This one is, I don't want to call it a murder mystery, but it has murder mystery elements to it. So it's set at a high school that just recently became a co-ed school. So the girls have not really interacted with boys, the boys have not really interacted with girls. And the boys are starting this game to see who can get with the most girls. The girls are disgusted and trying to get revenge, and the main character is not sure if her boyfriend is with her because he likes her or if he's part of this conspiracy. So the book kind of follows all of that. It's a ton of fun. It's also a little predictable, but it's a ton of fun. I love it. I think it's just a great time. My next three books are not ones I've talked about on camera yet. I read them all at the beginning of the year. I think I read all of these in January. Let me check. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I read all of these back in January, so before I was making videos. January is when I read the most books. I read 10 books in that month. I feel like I always do really well at the very beginning of the year because I'm like, I want to get a good start on my reading goals so I don't start the year behind. I need to get on a good note to begin with. So I read 10 books in January. And my third place book for 2026 so far is Hamajang Luck, which is so far out of my comfort zone of books I typically read, but also so in my comfort zone of books I typically read. Out of my comfort zone because it is a sci-fi book. In my comfort zone because this is a queer heist novel. Let's go. I love me a heist. I love me queer stories, especially when there's like crime involved. That's so fun to me. This book follows a thief named Edie who just got out of prison and is trying to live a life without crime and immediately gets dragged back into crime. Just one last heist. But really, it doesn't ever work like that. So they're struggling with their family drama and also relationship drama. I am absolutely obsessed with stories that feature like a lovers to enemies or like best friends to enemies or something between best friends and lovers to enemies kind of relationship. I think those are the most delicious kind of relationships a story can have. Absolutely obsessed with anything that contains that. That's my ship dynamic of all time. And that is what this book has. I love whatever's wrong with them. I will not stop thinking about it. This book's great. Toxic lesbians, let's go. Toxic lesbians committing a heist. Everyone on the heist team is a lesbian almost. Truly, truly a book written for me. I love it. I highly recommend. The sci-fi stuff was really hard for me to get because it's not like heavy sci-fi, but I'm just not built for that. I'm more used to books set in the real world and talk about all this like futuristic technology and space stuff. I get a little confused. I'm not sure I followed all of the world building very well because I'm not a sci-fi girly. I try, but I found a lot of the book confused about that sort of thing, but the plot itself was easy to follow and really hooked me. So love this book, love the characters, love the story. The world building's good, it's fascinating, it's fun. I'm just confused easily. My second place book for the year so far is Cradles of the Reich, which is a historical fiction novel set during World War II. So it's about a group of women all living in this home for women about to give birth. So one of the main characters works there in this facility, and the other two main characters are both pregnant women who are staying there. And it kind of shifts between their three different points of view, and their feelings towards all the drama happening in their personal lives, and also everything going on, what with this being a World War II story set in Germany, and their different feelings about pregnancy and what it means to be a woman, especially in that place and time. And I think it was a very powerful story. It had interesting characters. I was just absolutely hooked by it. The ending fell a little bit flat for me, but the rest of the book was just so riveting to read. I really, really love this book. This book was very interesting. It's pretty dark at times, so it's a darker book for sure, but definitely a good one. I'm someone who enjoys darker stories, so this was a really enjoyable book for me, but might not be for everyone. Same goes for my number one book this year, which is Yes, Daddy, which is a thriller that I was so excited to read and absolutely loved. I say it's a thriller. I would also argue it's kind of like literary fiction. Like, it's a thriller for like the first half of the book, and then it stops being a thriller. It's not really a thriller, but like half the book is a thriller. That was my favorite part of the book. I'm a thriller girly. I don't know what to tell you. So this follows a young gay man living in New York City who has been disowned by his family and is trying to seduce a wealthy older man and, live off his riches. It does not go well. There's this whole conspiracy of this older man and his other wealthy, powerful friends, and how they abuse these younger men trying to make a name for themselves in the world. And it's a really sad story. It's a really disgusting story at times. And it chronicles that time of like the lead up to the abuse and the abusive situation itself, and recovering from it and trying to move on, and find how this character finds peace with himself for the mistakes he made, find peace with all of the horrible things that have happened, both in his past, in his present, reconciling with his family and his faith. And it's just a powerful story with a lot to say, and very heavy. It's very dark. I don't want to go too heavy into spoilers, but if you're someone who might need trigger warnings for intense or violent stories that center around abuse, definitely look into trigger warnings for this one before reading it. But I loved it. Easily my favorite book of 2026 so far. I would love to read more stories like this. I love just like queer stories that are fucked up. I love queer stories that are dark and twisted and fucked up and aren't focused on either like happy queer joy or like the typical queer sadness that so many of us face, but more just like ugly, messy relationships and horrible things that aren't inherently the horrible things you might expect always. I don't know if I'm making sense. I love stories about toxic, horrible relationships. I love stories that are just dark and ugly. This is a really powerful book with a lot to say. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend. But yeah, watch out for the everything. The everything about it. After finishing this book, I did in fact have to lay on the floor of this room and just stare at the ceiling for a good bit. It is the only book I've read this year that did make me do that. So if that's not first place, I don't know what is. But yeah, that's my overview of my halfway point of this year. Hopefully I will have a 5-star read coming. I have faith in this pile of books behind that I don't think you can quite see. I have faith that somewhere in here is a 5-star read. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find her this summer. We got this. I believe in me. But yeah, if not, it's not the end of the world. I've got plenty of 5-star books that I want to reread this year. I've reread, I think, 4 5-star books from 2024. I finished out all of those rereads, and At some point later this year, I'm going to reread all my 5-star books from 2025. So that's 7 books I get to reread, and I'm so excited for those. But that's probably going to wait till after the summer is my guess, when I'll have more time to do it, because I want to make it a challenge of like 7 books in 7 days. But I don't think I can do that during the summertime. So yeah, thank you for joining me along this little check-in, wrap-up, top 5, and let me know where you're at with your reading so far. Have you read any of these books? Do you plan to read any of these books? What's your top 5 so far for this year? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.